Hey everyone, it's Kong again with another episode of Should You Summon. As always, I'm going to be presenting high-level overviews to help you decide whether this banner is worth your hard-earned vouchers and crystals. And it's here! 4th Anniversary Bannerfest. I'm not going to make a separate video or even really comment on the various Oathsworn banners because there are a lot of possible units involved and the same basic principles apply to your selections. Summon important units that you need, important bond unlockers, or to fill gaps in your roster if you're a collector. I'm also not going to make a whole new video on Watham since the previous one still applies pretty well, he's a beast. So that brings us to the Girl in the Shell and the Sword of Light and Shadow, new Lucretia and new Zerida. This banner will run for the duration of the entire monthly update from December 29th through to either January 25th or February 1st. It's not entirely clear yet until the announcement comes out whether we're getting an extra week in this EOL cycle. Some of the special anniversary events last until February, so it's not really unprecedented for Zilong to change up the schedule around this time of year. We'll have to wait and see. It'll only take us about a day to find out for sure. As with every new character launch, it's a normal rate-up banner, so you have a 40% chance to get either featured hero, with the remaining 20% reserved for any off-banner unit in the regular summoning pool. First up, we have the Girl in the Shell. The Girl in the Shell is Langrisser Mobile's storyline version of Lucretia. She's a long-range magical DPS with single target and AoE options, and her central gimmick is that she has RNG-based skills, because this game needs more RNG. The first of these is her 3-cost skill, which is a basic single target attack with no cooldown. Every time you act, it gets a damage and cooldown increase, till it gradually becomes a normal spell, and the cooldown caps out at 2. You can also apply a randomized upgrade to the skill up to a maximum of 3. This is where RNG starts to come into play. You get to choose between a damage upgrade, a special effect upgrade, or a healing upgrade after each action. But the nature of those upgrades is random. The damage upgrades can be one of several type advantages or fixed damage. The effect upgrades can be various debuffs, and the healing upgrades can be various types of healing effects. So we can do the math here. At best, after 3 turns, this becomes a 1.3 times damage single target spell with plus 15% damage, 2 cooldown, the exact type advantage you need, and then maybe a range or cooldown buff. Now that's a lot of wind-up time when other mages can just bring juicy single target nukes directly. Anyway, the other skill she has with a significant RNG component is her unique 1-cost, which basically just randomly rolls 3 generic spell options that are already in the game, and you can pick one to cast. By generic spells, I mean single target spells like Fireball, Lightning, Freeze Strike, Windblade, Holy Word, Cleanse, AoEs like Tornado, Blizzard, Thunderstorm, Meteor, Retribution, Black Hole, and masses like Mass Attack, Mass Resist, and Mass Heal. It's a big pool to try to roll something you're gonna want, when other mages can just choose the specific skill they need directly at the start of the game. In practice, your needs usually don't change so dramatically over the course of a match that you're going to want to rely on this RNG to select from such a huge pool of skills. She's a member of Langrisser Reincarnation, buffed by Ares and Hilda, Princess Alliance, buffed by Luna, Shelfaniel, and Christiane, and Dark Reincarnation, buffed by Bozel and Licorice. For bonds, she's needed to unlock the attack bond for the upcoming new unit Joa and Connie, and the defensive bond for next month's new unit Leo Beck. For her own bonds, she needs Julian for her defensive bond and Ironblood Commander for her attack bond. For content in PvE, she's on faction for Leviar in the Eternal Temple, and Fenrir, Sleipnir, and Needhog in Ancient Beckoning. No high-scoring strat has emerged from China featuring her yet, but maybe if you got the right combination of upgrades and could use her 3C every turn, she'd be able to rack up some points. We'll let Freed find out. On the PvP side, she's not great. The RNG factor of her 1C seems like fun, but it's gonna result in you getting a generic spell option at best, or completely inappropriate spell options at worst. And her 3C is basically just worse Fireball until you spend several turns charging it up. She does have Reaper and Sanction too if you want to get around those issues, but then the obvious crux of her problem is that there are several several better mages that do the same stuff, but better, including original Lucretia, ironically enough. So I think you can see where I'm going with that one. Let's move along to Sword of Light and Shadow. The Sword of Light and Shadow is the new version of Zerida after her traumatic stint as an actual literal sword, and as such, she's understandably grumpy and willing to take it out on your enemies. Where do I even start with this thing? I guess I can start by telling you to summon her no matter what I'm about to say. Her talent lets her ignore class disadvantage, so she can safely be run in her demon class. She also gets a tasty damage increase, and she also starts battle with plus 10% attack, plus 2 movement, and a revive. Once she pops that revive, she does lose those last few effects, but the wild part is she's able to regain them. Regain those effects, including the revive, by picking up soul shards left behind by defeated enemies. She can keep getting her revive back as long as there are enemies left to kill. Her 3-cost skill is a huge 1.8 times damage single target attack that dispels 5 buffs before combat, and also makes them unable to revive. If you still have your talent buff up, you also get Preemptive Strike. Her unique 2-cost skill is an AoE that prevents affected enemies from being able to act again. Her unique 1-cost skill lets her teleport to any ally or soul shard from a defeated enemy, anywhere on the map, then move 3 more spaces and attack. This gives her catastrophic threat range as long as you have someone to open the proceedings. She coming for you. She's scary. She's a member of Langrisser Reincarnation, buffed by Ares and Hilda for some reason, Protagonists, buffed by Matthew and Emperor Lovina, and Mythical Realm, buffed by Gizaroth and the Sage of the Trees. For bonds, she doesn't roadblock anyone else's bonds right now, and she only needs Matthew for her defensive bond and the original Zerida for her attack bond. For content, in PvE, she's on faction for Phoenix in the Eternal Temple, and Hugin and Munin, Sleipnir, and Fenrir in Ancient Beckoning. She's more about obliterating a single enemy than dealing sustained damage over long periods of time, so I don't see her being especially useful in AB with her big cooldowns. Her teleport could make her pretty fun in normal PvE though, and maybe even useful for some unforeseen cheese somewhere down the line. Obviously, she's pretty much custom designed for PvP, and yep, she's good in PvP. You can choose to build her all in as an AoE rush unit, although I think that'll likely be less common than the more moderate single-target AoE flex builds that will make her dangerous in trade boxes, while still giving the flexibility to AoE if the specific situation dictates. Ban her early. She coming for you. Alright, let's move on to a pretty short and predictable notes for noobs. Girl in the Shell is skippable. She's fine, but there are a lot of better mages. You're not here to summon specifically for her anyway. Sword of Light and Shadow is a must summon if you PvP. If you're only interested in PvE, like Applesauce over here, you probably don't need her. Although one of her bonds is also a free faction buffer, so if she's literally the first unit you happen to get when starting a fresh account, it's not exactly a bad thing. Finally, just my usual reminder about upcoming banners. Don't forget, the Lotto for Matthew's SP upgrade stone should be coming next week. It's not exactly a banner, but it is another 4,000 crystals worth of responsibilities. Other than that, I should mention again that it's entirely possible that the banner order for this update is going to be slightly messed up from how it was in China. Zilong likes to change things around the anniversary, usually to stretch things out so the big banners actually kind of line up closer to our actual anniversary later in January. So the order here might be different. For the rest of this month, we should be getting a raid-up banner featuring Florentia and Ashamar, a very appealing Destiny banner featuring Vincent, Epsilon, and Lostum, and recurring Destiny banners featuring Jugler, Landius, and Yulia, and Brenda, Suzette, and Sigma. The next major update features the launch of more Langrisser Mobile Act 3 original characters, Leo Beck and Zion. They didn't make much of a ripple in the Chinese meta, so they actually represent a very rare break from summoning if you're so inclined. Take advantage and let your hard-earned vouchers and crystals heal back up, because the update just after that one features another monstrous valuable summon in Polyol. Anyway, that's it for this episode. I already know you're summoning, so let us know on the Discord or in the comments below what kind of luck you had. And whether you're the monthly sacrificial Gerald and Layla summoner. My stack is kind of not in fantastic shape after summoning hard for Lightbringer and also picking up my guaranteed Kaguya quite late, so I'll be hoping for good luck for sure. Thank you so much for watching, I wish you all the best of luck, and I will catch you in the next Should You Summon. Extra special thanks, of course, to our Langrisser tier channel members for generously supporting the channel directly, so shout out to Levitt, Derek, Kate Soon, Jared Portela, Jerome Meyer, and Harambe. Thank you so much, especially around this time of the year. I appreciate it so much, everyone.